Welcome to a video on my 5 most replayable campaigns in historical Total Wars, taking both the campaign and the battles into consideration. Let's start off number 5, Medieval 2 Total War, England. Now, this faction itself isn't that unique and replayable, but their starting location is. First of all, they start off in England and in Normandy, which gives them 2 openers, 2 options at the start. Option A, go for the Scots and unite the British Isles. Option B, focus on France, or I guess option C, do a little bit of both. On top of that, you're also going to get raided from the Danish, and sometimes the Spanish and the Portuguese get involved as well, sailing onto your island, on the higher difficulties that is. So you've got multiple options how to deal with this. Do you play defensive? Do you go aggressive? When you go aggressive, do you just defend the sea and try and push them back with the naval superiority, or do you actually sail across and take their settlements, destroy them, so that they cannot invade? Either way, there's a load of different options for Medieval 2 Total Wars England, and it makes it very replayable. Actually, on top of that, now that I think about it, crusading is completely different. Almost every other faction has easy access to the Mediterranean, which makes crusading a much more viable option as you're already quite close to the first target, which is usually done a bit Cairo. So with England, you don't necessarily have to go on the crusade, but you can also do it. It is also an option, it's not that far. So that's another replayable sort of thing, whereas with Venice, you have to go on the crusade because you are the closest, it's only logical. But with England and Scotland, Denmark, you have a bit of a choice, which I like. Number 4 is Rome Total War, the Greek city-states. Now, like England, you start off in a lot of different areas, but especially with the Greek campaign, you've got the Anatolian bit, you've got the islands bit, you've got the Syracuse bit, and then you've got the main Greek bit. And yes, you could do a Greek campaign, most people do, just conquer Greece, destroy Macedon first, but you can also direct your efforts into Syracuse, conquer Sicily, or Anatolia, or focus your troops on heading south to knock the Egyptians out, and just, in Greece, just holding on to the lands that you do have, get good relations with Macedon sort of thing. There's many different approaches. This on my original list made it onto first place, but after thinking, no, it's not actually that replayable because of the battles. Now, as for Greeks, your unit roster is good phalanxes, good Cretan archers, which are available everywhere in your land as mercenaries, but poor cavalry, which means your armies are going to look very similar every single time round. It's going to be a line of phalanxes and then archers at the back, some cavalry to support, but you can't be that unique with the cavalry because they're not that good. And overall, the battles for the Greeks or any hoplite faction are not that replayable, and that's why it's been dragged down to 4th place. Number 3 is actually going to be for Napoleon Total War, and I like France. Napoleon starts off in the middle between Germany and Italy, and the route that you go is completely up to you. Either way, you kind of got to push for Venice, but the route that you take of that, option A is to just push through Bavaria, or option B is to go through the Alps and conquer northern Italy. Both are decent options. There's also a third option, and that's do what historically Napoleon was planning before the Austrians went to war with him. Invade Britain. You have the troops, and you have the fleet. You just have a fleet. But yeah, you are ready and you can invade the British Isles. I wouldn't advise it, but it is an option that is open. I really like it. Its weakness is the battles. Now, the problem with Napoleon Total War, and this is not just France, this is all the factions, the battles are not that replayable because of artillery having infinite ammo. They just dominate the battlefield and you're just going to be sitting back and bombarding the enemy for most of the campaign. It makes the battles slow and not that replayable, but it is the strategy to go for if you want to win. And that's Napoleon Total War's biggest weakness. 2 honourable mentions now, Attila Total War, the Huns. What I like about the Huns is you can literally expand anywhere. Now we've talked about already England, the Greeks, France. You know, there's option A, option B, option C, and that's what's good about them. But with the Huns, you can go anywhere at all. You've got complete free range. Any horde faction could have really made it on this list, but I think if one of them's going to make it, I think it's got to be the Huns. Like, you know, they are the horde faction of the game. It didn't make it on this list though because the battles, again, are repetitive. It's a very cavalry-based faction. Missile cavalry and normal cavalry will be your main roster, and eventually it's going to feel a bit repetitive, and that's why it's not on this list. The other honourable mention is for Medieval 2 Total War, and it's for Turks. Now, yeah, you got two options. You can go for Byzantium or down for Egypt and unite Islam, but this one is not here on the honourable mentions because of the Turks themselves, but because of the Mongols and the Timurids and how you're going to react to them. There's different options on how to deal with that. The first option is to sort of like bolster your defences up on that front, build some forts, get some missile troops in there, and hope you can hold the hordes back, but they will eventually break through, I think. Or option B is to just become a horde yourself in a way, push for Byzantium, try to get into Europe and have your heartland move a little bit further west. Sort of like running away from the Mongols, but not really. Let the Mongols fight the Egyptians and then you can swoop in and destroy them. And it's because of the Mongols and of course the Timurids that makes the Turks replayable. Number 2 on this list is for Rome 2 Total War, and it is of course the Romans. 3 options at the start: Gaul, Greeks or Carthage. What's interesting about these are each different journey that you take, each different route, has a very unique faction and a unique culture. Like the Greeks are going to fight very differently to the barbarians, who fight very differently compared to Carthage. So it's a different experience every time. On top of that, you've got your different families to interact with, and overall, the game being Rome 2 Total War, Rome is the standout faction, the most developed faction. And so it's only natural that in the entire game, it is the most replayable, because that's the one that people were going to play the most, so they had to design it like that. But first place beats it, and that is, without a doubt, Attila Total War, Western Roman Empire. There was no other option that could have gone on this list. First of all, well, the option variety. What religion do you go for? What buildings do you build? Which do you destroy? What's your building layout going to be? Where do your armies go at the start? What's your diplomatic policy? What's your trade policy? Like, are you going to go to war with the Eastern Rome, or are you going to try and trade with them? You've also got to prepare for the climate change. There's the entire government system that you've got to sort out, like who's going to have what role. You've got to sort out your family. You've got edicts to establish. And you've got, of course, your food and economy to balance, but there's many different ways you can do that. So there's all these things in your mind, but there's multiple options to approach it, not just one route. And on top of all of this, well, first of all, do you play defensive or aggressive is a question, but if you go aggressive, where do you go aggressive? You've got so many different borders to expand to. There's Britain, then there's, I guess, Eastern Rome if you want to try that. There's into Germany, or there's into Africa. Where do you expand? What front do you secure first? There's many different ways to play the Western Roman Empire, and that's what I like about it. It's such a challenge that there's not one playthrough that is the playthrough. There's many ways to approach it. You could even just completely demolish your entire empire and just take the money in and just like hold the valuable lands, which I've seen some YouTubers do. Or you can try and keep it intact. There's many different approaches, and I love the Western Roman Empire because of that. It is by far the most replayable faction in all of historical Total Wars. I was going to put Barbarian Invasion in here, but I feel there's so much more content in Attila, and that creates so many more available options, and it just had to be here. Please like, subscribe and share if you want to see any more of my videos, or a video like this, maybe top 5 unreplayable factions or top 5 repetitive factions, whatever I'll call it. We all know what first place is probably going to be, but I think the other ones could be quite interesting to look into. Overall, I do hope you have enjoyed. I'm actually going to be starting a Medieval 2 Total War England campaign as a live stream in about 1 or 2 hours, so make sure you're there to check that one out. It's going to be really good. It's also a modded campaign on a brand new mod never seen before by the public. So yeah, that's going to be really fun. Hope you're there for the stream. It's going to be at 6 PM GMT time, should be 1 or 2 hours after I upload. It will of course be on YouTube. If you missed the stream, don't worry, I've got a second channel and that's where I will upload it as a video in a few days time. But for now, I hope you've enjoyed this one, and until the next one, goodbye.